If fear had a shape, most towns in America would never see it. But in the summer of 1966, the small river town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, did. They didn't know what it was at first, just stories whispered on porches. An animal, perhaps, a large bird, misremembered in the dusk. But the things people saw were too consistent, too deliberate, too alive to be just an eye trick. When you enter this story, imagine the Ohio River running slow and thick in the heat. Imagine cicadas rattling in the trees like a chorus of tiny fans. The sun bleeds down toward the horizon, and shadows stretch long over dusty roads. This is where our tale begins. It was late November when the reports began. No one saw it in daylight. No one heard it approach. It was just there, on the edge of the old TNT area, abandoned from the war era, miles of overgrown fields surrounding a decaying fence. The first witness was Roger, a bridge maintenance worker, out at dusk inspecting guardrails along the Silver Bridge. The air was crisp. There was no moon, only the distant hum of the river under the steel beams. He thought he heard wings at first, soft, rustling like fabric brushing against dry grass. Then a shape detached itself from the gray twilight. Tall, thin, standing on two legs but not quite human. Its eyes glowed, two wide red lamps in the dark. Roger froze. The thing tilted its head and stared at him, not angry, not curious, just watching. The wind seemed to die there around him, held by the weight of those eyes. Then it spread its wings, not like a bird, but like something built for the night, and it vanished. Roger never spoke a word of what he saw to anyone that night, not until the next morning when he couldn't think of anything else. When the rumors reached the diner on Main Street, most people laughed. A big bird, a barn owl, someone playing a prank. Then the sightings spread. Not just one person, but several. Folks claimed they saw a man-shaped figure perched on rooftops at dusk, like a gargoyle come to life. Others said they saw huge wings, like a bat's wings folded against its back, each arm tip ending in digits like fingers. Even dogs wouldn't bark at it. They just stared, unsettled at something humans could barely comprehend. One night, a pair of teenagers, Janet and Charlie, were parked by the river, talking, smoking cigarettes in the cooling air. Everything was quiet, too quiet. That's when Janet saw it. She was the first to speak. "I think it's watching us," she whispered. Charlie laughed nervously. "Yeah, right. Probably just an owl." But when he turned toward the tree line, his smile died. Two glowing eyes, higher than any deer or coyote, blinked at them. Then another pair, and another. They were all around the edge of the clearing, dark shapes crouched behind trees, tall, thin, unmoving, watching. Not a sound, no rustling, just gaze. Even Charlie felt a chill creep into his bones. They drove off without speaking. The Amos family lived on a farm overlooking the river bluffs. They were used to coyotes and owls and night critters rustling through corn. But one night, something knocked on their front door. Not a heavy pounding, just light, repeated taps, like a long, slender finger rapping wood. Mr. Amos opened the door. Nothing on the porch, just the yard. Then he saw the courtyard lantern flicker. A shadow passed, tall, with wings, impossible wings. It hovered a few feet above the ground, too silent to be wind, too deliberate to be imagination. Mrs. Amos screamed. The thing retreated into the darkness, and just like that, it was gone. No trace, no footprints, nothing except the echoes of fear. Over the next weeks, reports piled up. Drivers on back roads swore headlights caught something crouched in the ditch that wasn't animal. Farm workers saw shapes leap across fields, too quick and too silent. Even the local police received reports from people trembling on phone lines. It had glowing eyes. It wasn't human. I swear it watched me walk to my truck. The symbol most people described was the red eyes, burning like coals in the night. No fear, no joy, just observation, as if it was learning, watching, waiting. December 15th. A bitter wind cut through Point Pleasant. The Ohio River was swollen with rain. The Silver Bridge, old, creaking, groaned under weight even before the storm hit. That night, dozens of people gathered near the bridge, curious, afraid, morbidly eager to catch a glimpse of what the papers were already calling the Winged Watcher. But no one expected what happened next. At around 8 p.m., without warning, a scream shattered the cold air. People turned toward the bridge's center. That's where they saw it. A dark shape, too tall to be human, standing on the steel beams. Its red eyes flashed. Then a flutter of wings. Not soaring, plunging. The thing dove toward the river. The onlookers gasped. They watched as it disappeared into the stormy darkness. Then the unthinkable happened. Moments later, so fast no one reacted, the bridge began to shudder. First slight tremors, then violent shaking. Metal groaned, cable snapped. The whole structure swayed like a dying beast, and then it collapsed. Thousands of tons of iron and concrete plunged into the river below. Cars, trucks, lives, gone in an instant. In the chaos, people cried, ran, screamed. No one saw the thing again that night. No one could explain what they saw before the collapse. But everyone in Point Pleasant felt the same chill. It was there, watching, before disaster struck. In the weeks that followed, reporters and curious thrill seekers poured into the town. Some brought cameras, some brought doubts, others brought fear. A few old-timers whispered a name, Mothman. Not because it looked like a moth exactly, no one could say for sure what it was, but because of the huge wings, the way it moved like dusk had taken human form, and those eyes like glowing embers in the dark. Scientists came. They offered theories, misidentified birds, optical illusions, adrenaline-fueled exaggeration. But the witnesses all told the same thing. They'd seen something real, and they'd felt it. Not just fear, but observation, like they'd been studied.
Years later, people still talk about it, about how the winds change around the Ohio River, about how the night feels different near the old river banks after dark, how sometimes in the corner of your eye you think you see movement just beyond trees, just beyond lights, and sometimes, just sometimes, you think you feel watched. Not by human eyes, not by animal eyes, but by something that belongs to the shadows. So if you're ever driving through a small river town in the fading light, and you feel the air grow still, and you sense something just beyond sight, remember this: some mysteries don't stay buried. Some shadows don't fade with sunrise, and some watchers don't leave when you blink.
And if you want more real, mysterious, and terrifying tales, make sure to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one, because the next story might be closer to reality than you think.